So you've got this amazing, innovative AI model ready to go. But what's the one thing that's holding it back from actually getting into production? It's usually not the tech. It's the approval process. Today, we're going to talk about the key to unlocking that final, crucial step.
Let's just ask the question straight up. Why do so many of these groundbreaking AI projects just fizzle out in endless committee meetings? It's a huge source of frustration for technical managers and executives, and it's exactly what we're going to tackle right now.
The heart of the problem, more often than not, looks a little something like this. You see, to a traditional architecture review board, your ARB, a large language model can look like a total black box. It seems unpredictable. You can't really measure it the old way, and frankly, it just feels way too risky. They're used to clear, solid blueprints, not vague promises about magic. And that's exactly where the LLM specification comes into play. Now, this is way more than just another document you have to fill out. It's a formal blueprint for your AI. It clearly defines the design, what it can do, and, most importantly, the risks, all in that structured, rigorous language that enterprise governance teams not only understand but absolutely require for sign-off. The best way to think about it is like a Rosetta Stone. It literally translates the so-called magic of what your data science team built into the concrete, verifiable language of enterprise architecture. It's the tool that finally bridges that massive communication gap. And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a real, practical, open-source framework that you can grab right now from the team at Necessary Security. That makes it a credible, accessible standard that your organization can start using today to build trust and, get those projects unstuck. So how does this actually work? Well, the very first thing it does is translate that AI magic into cold, hard metrics. And that's a game changer because it shifts the entire conversation away from these fuzzy promises and toward concrete, non-negotiable requirements. This slide just nails the classic disconnect, right? The AI team says, don't worry, it's fast. But what the architecture review board needs to hear is latency is guaranteed to be under 500 milliseconds. The team says it's accurate, but the board needs a contractual promise of 90% or greater accuracy. They need real SLAs, not just hopeful adjectives. And the LLM spec delivers this with total precision. Just look at this little snippet from an actual spec file. These aren't just goals, they are binding contracts. Throughput of 100 requests per second per region is something your ops team can actually monitor and enforce. In fact, you can even hook this YAML file directly into your CI/CD pipeline to automatically gate deployments. It turns the document itself into an active governance tool. Okay, so once the performance metrics are all locked down, we can move on to the next big hurdle, security and compliance. And the whole idea here is to build trust using guardrails. We're going to transform that abstract cloud of risk into a simple security checklist that a compliance officer can look at and just approve. You know the list of fears: prompt injection, leaking sensitive PII data, GDPR compliance, encryption, audit trails. To a governance team, every single one of these sounds like a potential disaster, a bad headline, a huge fine, or a major breach just waiting to happen. But look at how the LLM spec handles this. It just provides direct answers, one by one. Prompt injection protection enabled, check. PII reduction, check. GDPR and CCPA compliant, check. In an instant, that whole scary list of fears becomes a completed, auditable security checklist. It builds confidence immediately. All right, performance is defined, security is covered. But what about the model's supposedly unpredictable behavior? This is where the spec really defines the rules of engagement, finally turning that black box into a system with clear, understandable governance that everyone can get behind. One of the most important parts of governance is defining what the model is not allowed to do. The spec makes your team explicitly state the prohibited use cases right from the start. No legal advice, no medical advice, no financial advice. This isn't some afterthought. It's a core design choice that contains risk from day one. And it goes even further by setting these hard, measurable limits on the model's behavior. A hallucination rate that cannot go above 5%. A toxic content rate that has to stay below 1%. If the model can't meet these numbers in testing, it just doesn't get deployed. End of story. It's that simple. Okay, let's bring this all home. We've defined performance, we've secured the system, and we've set up clear governance rules. The whole point is to go from being blocked to being confidently deployed, and the LLM spec gives you that clear path to AI approval.
It really just boils down to these 3 simple, actionable steps. First, you define the spec using the template. Second, you use that document to get all your stakeholders on the same page. AI, security, architecture, everyone speaking the same language. And third, you present that spec to the ARB as a complete de-risked plan. This process is really a critical shift in mindset from pure experimentation to a culture of documented, de-risked engineering. At the end of the day, the LLM specification is the strategic tool you need to transform your AI black box. It turns what was a source of risk and uncertainty into a compliant, governed, and approved enterprise solution that can finally start delivering real value. And honestly, that's a huge competitive advantage. The companies that figure this out are the ones getting their best innovations to market faster and safer than everybody else. So I'll just leave you with this question. Are you ready to stop debating risk in meetings and start standardizing your AI architecture for real? You can go and download the entire open source framework from Necessary Security's GitHub repository right now. Go take that first step and get your most innovative projects out of the committee room and into production where they belong.